Okay, here we are, giving you guys an idea of what a real standing seam roof looks like. Now, this is a very tall seam, and normally you would never build one this tall. However, if it was in a place where you got snow drifts and you couldn't justify the expense and the time necessary to make a lock in the soldered roof, you would make a standing seam roof and push the seam a little higher. You don't have to, but in a place like Aspen, Colorado, or somewhere where you have 4 feet of snow on it for 2 or 3 months out of the year, it's a good idea. So what we have here is we have the upstand of the copper pan. Now this would be a pan and it's deleted over here, so there's nothing. So what we have is we have this, and it goes up, it turns over, and then turns down. Now this measurement is 1/2 inch. The downturn is 1/2 inch. Now we have the mate to this. Now this panel over here will have a left bend to it. Now this is what a panel would look like. It would be actually coupled here in the center, and this would be one pan. And then you'd have a bend over, and it could go vice versa depending on where it is. Like if this was a piece of fascia, you'd wind up with this, and then you'd wind up mating these two together, and it would crimp over. But you wouldn't have this. This would just be a piece of fascia. So it would still be a fully locked seam. So let's go back over here and take this apart. Lifts up, the rope's in there. Now it should sit rather tightly. Now if you notice here, there's a little bit of a void. It doesn't fit exactly tight because every foot or 16 inches or so you'd wind up with a piece that looked very much like this, except it would fold over and underneath as a lock. It would be nailed or screwed to the roof. I like to use copper ones, I like to nail them, but you could screw them. So this will go over here like this. Now this is a lock. You take a hand seamer and tong or whatever, and do this kind of start to press this tight. Now they make larger tools to do this, but for this demonstration, it squeezes very tightly. And especially anywhere where you would have the seam, you would start to see the outline of it from your tab being nailed to the roof. Now, this is a waterproof fitting. It's very tight, but it still allows enough flexibility, you know what I mean, for the panels to have a little bit for expansion. But the best standing seam roof would be a double lock, which you would take this lock here and you would begin to fold it down. And once you had to fold it down, you could tap it over with there's an anvil and hammer if you really want to make good time. But for our purposes here, we just bend it down a little bit, get your hand seamer on it, and start to close it. Then you close this. Now there's no reason to beat it up. Just get it to turn over, and you'll wind up with this. And if you look very carefully at the profile, you'll want it's kind of like an @ symbol that's been crushed. And you'll wind up with a very strong and waterproof joint that sits out of where the water lies. And there you go.